Today we're back at, well, Symondsbury Estate. That's Kulmas Hill up there, and we're going for a walk to Hell Lane. We're going to hell. So Hell Lane, where we're going, is an example of a West Country holloway, or sunken road. And so it's a very, very ancient track that's been worn into the soft sandstone bedrock by the passage of many, many feet and carts and horses and other traffic over the course of probably thousands of years. Eva's going to have to stay on the lead for this little bit through this field because there are sheep loose in the field, so we can't have the dog loose in the field. Don't eat the poo. It's really very breezy today, but when we get down into the lane we'll be quite sheltered because it's sunk well below the level of the surrounding terrain. So there's a little gate just here that will lead us onto Hell Lane. You might be wondering why it's called Hell Lane. I'll explain that in just a moment. So keeping Kulmas Hill on our left, we walk down here, and this is Hell Lane. It does turn into a lane called Shoots Lane, S-H-U-T-E-S, at one point, and then back into Hell Lane, and it goes all the way to Chiddock. But this part is Hell Lane. I think it was originally all Hell Lane. And I got a feeling it got renamed Shoots Lane because people didn't like the sound of it. Shoot is another word for holloway. You know, shoot as in deep channel. So I suppose at some point somebody got a bit sensitive and renamed it. Interesting, a bit of brick paved roadway here. Follow the yellow brick road. So why is it called Hell Lane? Well, this is the point where I would normally say, well, it's a corruption of some older word, Hallows Lane or something like that, but it's not. It's called Hell Lane because it was a particularly horrible place to travel, because it's so deeply cut into the landscape. In rainy weather, it becomes a riverbed and is very muddy and difficult to traverse. But also, we are descending, in a sense, into the bowels of the earth. This lane has been cut down to this level by thousands of years of foot and cart traffic. And various people have carved things into the rock face. So this is fairly modern graffiti here, I think. The sandstone is very soft, so you can carve it almost with your fingernail. I shan't be carving my name into the rock today, but people did. So we're already about 5 meters underneath the natural surface of the field up there, although it probably would have been a sloping hill. And that looks like a badger set to me up there. So it is a strange thing walking this holloway, because even though we are ascending a gentle rise up the hill, the terrain around us is getting higher and higher as we go along, and so there is this sense that even though we're going uphill, we're also going down into the bowels of the earth. Yeah, and now we're entering what is essentially a little canyon. With the sandstone walls towering above us. And, well, again, modern graffiti there. An eye. And a kind of smiley face. Another eye. I wonder if that's any kind of significance, some local symbology or something, or just somebody likes carving eyes. Yeah, lots of modern graffiti actually. I suppose is, you know, it's what people have always done here, is carve things in the soft rock. You can see this layer upon layer of carvings. Another eye there, another eye there, and one there, and there. Oh, yeah. So I suppose the thing to do, I mean, a lot of this will be modern graffiti, these faces, or modern carvings. I suppose the thing to do is, if we want to see really ancient stuff, we should look higher up, because that would be representing when the track was up there. But the softness of this sandstone it means it's quite likely that anything that's really ancient has just worn away, has just weathered off the faces of the cliff and it's gone forever. But it seems like the thing to do here is carve faces and eyes. I'm not hugely well versed on symbology, so if anybody knows the significance of the eyes, do let me know in the comments. But yeah, so on the face of it, it might seem like a terrible shame that people are carving graffiti, modern graffiti, into these rock faces, but if you think about it, that's, you know, if we were to find ancient petroglyphs here, that's just people a long time ago doing the same thing, carving something to prove that they were here. Wow, so we've got a tree that's fallen across the track here and is wedging a big boulder there, and it's actually some rocks on top of it as well. So at some point that's going to rot away. These boulders will come down. But yeah, lots of representations of faces peering at you through the rock. Well, that's pretty ornate, isn't it? Whoever did that obviously spent a bit of time and effort and creativity carving that pattern into the rock. There's a little niche with what was probably just a little figure, just head and shoulders figure, little bust of some sort, but it's been again worn away. More faces peering at us. So I think Halloween is a popular time to visit this holloway, this hell lane, as you can imagine, you know, with dim autumn lighting. All of these faces peering at us out of the rock would be quite spooky. But we're here in May. So it doesn't seem quite so spooky, but it is still quite an eerie place. There is, even though these carvings are not very old, there is a curious sense of age to the place. So I think we might have actually passed through the main rocky bit where all of the carvings are to be seen. And we're now coming higher up the hill, but also there's a sense that we're coming out of something. So I think if we look round to our left, we'll probably see, well, if we come up here, Kulmas Hill, I imagine. Yeah, there it is. Kulmas Hill has its own separate video, which I'll link to in the video description and in this card. How about that for a view? So Hell Lane continues off that way, but there is another holloway down here, which I think we'll just have a little wander down, because we encountered this one from the other side of the fence when we visited Kulmas Hill a couple of years ago. So we'll just have a little wander down here. We'll have a look at some of the flora as well. So we've got buttercups and cow parsley, and this is cleavers or sticky willy in flower. Tiny little white flowers called sticky willy because it's got all these little hooks on it, and it sticks even to your skin, but it'll stick to your clothing, and it produces these little seed pods that have the same kind of texture, so they'll stick to fur or clothing and be transported and drop seeds somewhere else. Some pink flowers here. So this one is Herb Robert, Geranium Robertianum. This one is Red Campion. We'll have a look at some Red Campion in a minute, because I can see some bigger patches of it down here. Really difficult plant to photograph because some of the, well, it's very variable colour, but some of the more pink specimens, the deeper pink, is kind of outside of the gamut of digital cameras, and so you can't capture the true pink of this flower. This is just a mid-pink one, but sometimes you get them so they're so intensely pink they're actually almost painful to look at. Now the fact that we've got all this verdant growth here, especially all these buttercups, is a clue to the fact that this is a damp location. Even in the summer this is probably quite damp, partly because it's shady, but also because it's a channel for water to run down. There is a very, very pink example of Red Campion, which I'm certain the camera is not really giving you a proper view of. Why is it called Red Campion if it's pink in colour? It was named before the English language had a word for pink. So the name for the colour pink came from a related plant, actually, a type of carnation called pinks, which are called pinks because they have frilled or pinked petals. And then the name pink for the colour was named after the flower and then applied to all sorts of other things. So Red Campion is Red Campion, not Pink Campion, because it was named before we had a word for pink in the English language. So heading back up from that little diversion, so the other thing that this damp and shaded microclimate does is delay the seasons a little bit. So here, look at that, English bluebells still just about flowering at the end of May, just hanging on and just going over, but the rest of the bluebells elsewhere have gone. Yeah, like I say, we're coming towards the end of May now, and elsewhere in the world the English bluebells are all over because the season's done. But here, just because it's a bit damp and shady and cool, the season has been delayed a little bit, and so the plants are still experiencing what's equivalent to the earlier part of spring. Some of that will be day length as well, because obviously in these deep cut lanes the amount of actual sunlight that gets in here is shortened, because the sun has to come up a way before it can actually get over the top of the banks and into the lane. And so the plants may be tricked into thinking they have a shorter day length than they actually do, and that some plants are actually sensitive to that, and that will affect when and how they flower. So over here we've got the sea, part of Lyme Bay, and somewhere over there behind those hills is Charmouth and then Lyme Regis. So that part is the limit of our little walk today. Hell Lane is longer than this, but we've just really traversed probably the most interesting bit for a video. So we're now going to head back down the Holloway here. So that's pretty much our visit, but now we're going down the hill, but also down into the cutting. So I suspect that the sense of descending into the earth will be even greater here. So thanks for joining us on our little stroll up and down Hell Lane near Symondsbury in Dorset today. I hope that's been interesting. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.